Hello and welcome to a special look back episode of The Essential. I'm Zach Walker.
And I'm India Garrett. First up, it's an issue that comes up time and time again, but this year it was LUU's women's hockey that was under fire for hosting a controversial social. Rosie Hampton has the report.
We're here at the training ground of the Leeds University Union women's hockey team. The team has recently come under scrutiny after hosting a social event that was described as chav-themed. The University Union received a number of complaints, many alleging that the language used in the event post and the costumes worn on the night out parodied offensive working class stereotypes. The backlash has quickly garnered national attention, so the Essential reached out to the team for comment. One of the players gave us a statement but asked to remain anonymous.
I think the intent behind it's not malicious, however I do think it's misguided. Leeds University Hockey Club is most definitely not the only club or university that does this. However, that doesn't make it right. In some ways, this has been blown out of proportion. However, something like this is necessary to get people thinking. Lots of girls will have gone on the social because it's one of the biggest of the year and seen it as a harmless bit of fun. When you're in a big society like this, you don't really challenge the status quo. It's a hockey society where the socials are meant to be fun, and there obviously isn't a strong emphasis on being politically correct.
The University Union are currently undergoing talks with the hockey team on how to move forward with them at this time. They have released an official statement asserting that the players' behaviour was unacceptable. Some, however, have accused the union of hypocrisy after it came to light that their popular club night Fruity had hosted a similarly themed event in 2011. The union have not released official plans on how they are going to deal with these issues at this time. Rosie Hampton, The Essential.
In October, our reporter Rory Page spoke to representatives from rugby league and American football, finding out more about their campaign surrounding men's mental health and why it was so important for them personally to raise awareness.
Last year on the 30th of April, one of our players, mates, he suffered from depression and other things, and he committed suicide on the 30th of April. And that hit the club pretty hard.
Sort of the same thing 2 years ago. There was a guy on the team who sadly committed suicide.
To be out with the bloke in question, James, on the Friday night, and then on Sunday to find out he's not going to be coming back out with us, just heartbreaking, really.
Do you think there's a stigma attached to men about talking about mental health?
Growing up playing rugby and being like a very male-orientated environment, don't want to be that guy that talks out about something. To be considered maybe a wee bit soft, which is obviously just wrong.
I never want to have a situation where one of my friends decides that their life isn't valuable anymore. Look at yourself, not necessarily look at your friend if they're down. Are you okay? It's okay not to be okay.
Later that semester, you and Roxburgh caught up exclusively with international student Sylvia to find out why it was so important to her to go home and vote in the Catalonia Referendum.
1 week before the referendum, I saw that the Spanish police was arresting people related to the referendum.
And there were a lot of reports of there being obstructions towards people trying to get in to vote. Did you have any difficulty in getting to a polling booth?
They went to a lot of polling stations around Barcelona and all around Catalonia. So yeah, and they were beating all people, kids. I thought, how can this be happening in the 21st century in the EU? And yeah, actually the EU is not doing anything about that.
Throughout this year, The Essential wanted to make sure it was making the big issues accessible to students.
So here's an example of when our correspondent Sam Coffey created a guide that helped to do just that.
Last Wednesday, the Conservative government unveiled their most recent budget, the details of which you need to know about. But that's what we're here for. This is The Essential Explains the budget.
So, what is the budget? Well, it's basically a summary of all the changes the government plans to make in what they're spending and how they're taxing.
Now, the budget is always all over the media because it's one of the few occasions that the government announces a concrete set of policies all in one go that can be scrutinised from all angles. Now, let's look at some of the most important changes for us young people this time round.
First up, stamp duty has been abolished with immediate effect for first-time buyers of houses that are worth up to £300,000.
Stamp duty basically means that when you buy a new house for the first time, you have to pay a special tax on that.
Second, tax-free personal allowance on income tax will rise from £11,500 to £11,850 as of April 2018. This basically means that an extra £350 of your income won't be getting taxed.
Whilst this may seem like you're getting a bit more for your money, the change is only in line with inflation, which is the increase in the average cost of living. So in terms of how much your money is actually buying you, nothing's really changing here. And that is The Essential Explains the budget.
In January, our reporter Seb Cheer travelled down to Norwich to visit the parents of Marcus Potter, whose autistic obsession got him arrested after making rude gestures towards a police station.
At the beginning, he didn't quite get the acceptance of which could have helped him in the long run. He got some conflict from officers who were a bit worried about him. It seems to me like one of his obsessions. Yeah. The times when we weren't there, he'd start filming the police and getting himself into situations.
He could avoid if he wasn't autistic. The problem is being autistic makes the whole situation very different. It's not as straightforward as don't do it. When he got to the court, there was no lawyer available, so he represented himself. And then we were never informed either. And it was someone we know who works at the court. And he rang me and he said, "I'm so sorry to hear about that." And I said, "What are you sorry about?" He said, "Don't you know what happened to Marcus?" And I said, "No." He said, "He's in prison."
The Essential had an exclusive opportunity for a televised interview with former Labour MP and Home Secretary Jack Straw.
We had this issue 50 years ago because it arose over a right-wing Conservative politician who had what we now describe as racist views. Some of the students felt that he should be denied a platform. Our view in the Students' Union Executive was that he should not be denied a platform, that you've got to hear people regardless of how objectionable their views are.
Do you think student activism has become sort of more or less prominent, more or less effective?
Well, it's much less prominent, but the sit-in that I helped to lead here towards the end of the 67-68 academic year, it was caused by complete boneheadedness by the universities, because they had a former police superintendent who was collecting files on students he regarded as red, which meant people in the Communist Party, Trotskyists, people like me on the left of the Labour Party. And if the university had any sense, they would have just said, well, we're going to sit this out until everybody's going to go home in 2 weeks' time, but they didn't. They panicked, and we actually got what we wanted.
In April 2017, Theresa May called a snap general election, reigniting political engagement across Britain.
The Essential seized the opportunity to closely follow the build-up to the 8th of June, culminating in our live coverage through the night documenting the election results.
At this point, it looks like the Conservatives could be just shy of an overall majority in government.
In that last minute, Labour has taken Canterbury, which was previously a Conservative seat since 1918. Now that is a whopping long time to hold a seat.
It seems as though Labour are going to take Nick Clegg's seat away from him in Sheffield Hallam.
At that particular valley, you had people kind of in the trees, you had people just kind of lining the fences. It kind of personally rekindled my faith in the youth vote.
Jeremy, why is it important for students to vote?
So their future is in their hands.
Later that year, you went against the majority of your party, voting in favour of airstrikes on ISIL, and publicly expressed your lack of confidence in Labour leadership.
It's about whether you are going to pay tuition fees or have tuition fees got rid of. It's about whether you're going to live in a fair society or one that is a deeply unfair society.
We can confirm that there will be a hung parliament in the morning.
Thanks for tuning in to this special extended edition of The Essential.
And remember, if it's going on in or around your union, it's essential.
We all need to work together to make sure that our students have better conditions of employment.
It's still the same goal that we're aiming for, as in that we want 2023 to be an amazing year for culture, but now we can really do it from our own route.
The figures on composition of academic staff across the country are woefully poor, and they are unrepresentative of this society.
There's a bit deep frustration actually at the policies of the Spanish government, which the independence referendum is one reflection of, but I think it goes deeper than that.
It's time to take a stand and once and for all ensure that women can go out on their own in a group and feel safe, and that they're not going to be attacked on our own